You gotta use it. Yeah.
Wednesday,
You gotta take out the little phone to remind yourself.
But they skipped it off.
Yeah, but it's good.
Yeah.
Good.
Maybe the second or.
I gotta do orientation.
Okay, all set, Teresa?
All set. No minutes.
2 minutes.
Till next week.
We'll be waiting. Good evening, welcome to the January 10th Clifton Park Town Board meeting. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Teresa, if you call the roll.
Councilwoman Flood. Here. Councilwoman Stanhart. Here. Councilman Morelli.
Here.
Councilwoman Wallowitz. Here. Supervisor Barrett.
Here. New minutes, communications and announcements. First, want to big thank you to our team. Did a great job last week with the test kit distribution, and it went very well. Hopefully, we'll receive more test kits, but at this point, we don't have any definitive information on that. But if we do get some, we'll certainly get the word out and subsequently distribute the test kits as quickly as possible. This one was done during the week. We didn't want to hold on to the test kits too long. We wanted to get them into the hands of as many people as possible. And we didn't want to wait another additional couple days for the weekend. But maybe the timing will work out a little differently, and we can do it on the weekend next time if we get more. That worked with our public mass distributions that we began in the beginning of the pandemic. And so good to follow that successful structure. The other thing is just want to thank Ian Anderson, local World Series champ, for donating his time. There were a lot of people waiting outside half hour, 45 minutes before he was scheduled to start signing autographs. And everybody was asked to bring a donation when they came to get an autograph. He was incredibly gracious as always. 4 organizations benefited: the Shen Backpack Program, Captain, Wellspring, and Jonesville Food Pantry. And we had about, I don't know, I'd say 8 or 9 large tables filled with bags and just non-perishable food items and personal care items stacked, on all those tables. So it was a very, very successful event. And again, just want to thank Ian and the Anderson family. Also, we'll be getting out the nonprofit application soon. That is the town nonprofit application or grant program. Those right now, I think we still need to test the online application, but once that's in good shape, we know it's definitively going to work for everybody. We'll be able to get that application up and get the funds to the many nonprofits who need the money as the pandemic continues. Also, just want to mention briefly that Saratoga County was the first to begin the Test to Stay program in our schools, and this has been expanded through the county. So there's a lot of good information out there. I won't go through it right now, but anybody that's interested in that program or has obviously kids in school probably know more about the program already than others that don't. But definitely a good cutting-edge program for Saratoga County to lead on to keep our kids in the classroom. Any other communications or announcements?
Yes. Um, I believe that we can all agree that everyone is pretty tired of this pandemic. No one wants to have their lives disrupted by a positive COVID diagnosis or a quarantine order. We have seen how rules and restrictions changing at the whim of a career politician's agenda have crippled our economy and devastated our mental health. Making restrictions even less tolerable are elected leaders who impose restrictions and policies on their constituents or staff only to ignore their own rules, all at the expense of the social contract. People have grown weary of a do as I do, say, not as I do career politician, or a rules for thee but not for me lawmaker. And this has been especially true during this pandemic. Cuomo, de Blasio, Pelosi, Newsom, Lightfoot, and now Barrett. You're surprised. Phil, you have imposed mask mandates and other restrictions on our town employees, and yet have repeatedly failed to follow your own rules. I have numerous reports from employees stating that you regularly walk the halls of town hall without a mask, entering private offices without a mask for extended periods of time, all in direct violation of your very own directives.
No, that's incorrect.
In 2020, you required that all employees, part-time and full-time, sign an acknowledgement form attesting that, and I quote, all employees will be expected to self-monitor their health prior to reporting to work each day. If employees feel sick, the employee should notify their supervisor and remain home, end quote. According to earlier press reports, you stated that you started to feel symptoms and tested positive the last week of December. Town employees reported that you continued to come into work that week while either COVID symptomatic or COVID positive by your own admission.
Mhm.
Without wearing a mask, you continue to enter private offices and departments to meet with employees without social distancing. Clearly, you should have known and done better.
Yeah.
At our most recent town board meeting held on January 3rd, 2022, you informed this board and the public that you had tested positive for COVID that morning. Unclear is, did you have a test that morning and not receive the results until later? Because you continued to remain in town hall until later that very afternoon.
No, I did not.
Only 3 days later, on January 6, 2022, you appeared in public, ironically, for the distribution of COVID home test kits.
Yep.
You were observed interacting with town employees in close proximity, once again, without a mask on. All while by your own admission, you were COVID positive. Your reckless disregard for the safety of the team puts not only our town employees at risk, but also the residents who come to town hall every day.
Mhm.
Elected officials must hold themselves to a higher standard. Your repeated poor judgment, negligence, and selfishness has perverted the beneficence of every effort our team has accomplished
Mhm.
throughout this pandemic.
Right.
People have trusted you for over 2 decades.
Yep.
You have officially violated that trust.
Mhm.
On January 7th, 2022, I sent you a letter asking for clarification regarding your positive COVID diagnosis due to significant discrepancies in your statement to the town board on January 3rd and statements that you have given to the media. Concerned residents and town employees are asking for answers, and you are the only one that can provide them. The discrepancies and questions need to be addressed to restore confidence and trust in the office of the town supervisor.
Right.
Therefore, on behalf of the residents of Clifton Park and all town of Clifton Park employees, I once again publicly request that you address them. Specifically, when exactly was the onset of your symptoms? Did you self-isolate? When did you take your first COVID test? Was the January 3rd, 2022 rapid test results your first positive test result? If you took the test the morning of January 3rd, why were you at town hall? For purposes of contact tracing, which town hall employees came into close contact with you 2 days prior to the onset of your symptoms? Did you notify any town hall employees that you tested positive? Did you notify Saratoga County Public Health Services of your positive test result as required? And if so, when? Did you receive isolation orders from New York State Department of Health or Saratoga County contact tracers? Before returning to work from isolation today, did you provide a release from the Department of Health, which has been required from all town employees who have previously tested positive for COVID during the pandemic? Elected officials are not above the people they represent. They are called upon to be public servants. As such, public servants should be straightforward, not evasive, and honest in their dealings with them. The residents of Clifton Park and our town employees deserve to know the truth, and that only begins when you answer their questions. It's time to restore transparency to Town Hall. Thank you. Teresa, I have a copy of my statements, and I'd like this to be entered into the official record.
So,
Thank you, Rachel. Yes, of course.
So I have and will continue to follow all applicable protocols, continue to lead our team, providing vital services to our community, as I have, leading from the front throughout the entire pandemic. And I'm not going down this rabbit hole with you. That would just be a fool's errand. But when you were waiting in line to pick up a test kit with a couple thousand other Clifton Park residents that came through to get a test kit that day, you saw exactly where I was stationed, far away from everybody in the parking lot. And that was done for, so there wouldn't be any question as to where I was during the event and was I near anybody, etc. So I was in the parking lot by myself. Like I said, a couple thousand people that came through, saw people from the press were there for at least a good portion of the event, as well as our team. So you can take pictures of me or anyone else next to their vehicle, 50 plus feet away from anyone, and use them for cheap political setup. That's your unfortunate choice. You are correct about one thing in your statement. I have built up a tremendous amount of trust in the town and with the residents of Clifton Park over 2 decades. We've worked very hard to improve our town and provide exemplary services to our residents, and we've been successful in doing that. And that's why that trust has been established and built up over a long period of time. But I and many other team members here do not have the luxury of picking and choosing when we get involved. And when COVID gets bad, we just hide. We need to be on the job each day in person because of the nature of the services that we provide. And during the pandemic, we have expanded our services quite a bit, which requires further commitment, not only from the elected officials, but from our team. So again, I do want to thank our team for their work last week and continued hard work through the pandemic. Throughout the pandemic, we continually deal with internal cases of exposures and positive COVID tests, and working to analyze and review each and every one of those situations has taken a tremendous amount of effort. And our team has done a very good job, and I think that's clear in the lack of community spread within most departments. But we don't announce an employee's name when they're positive. So if an employee in one of the departments tests positive, I don't come to a town board meeting or put out a memo to all the employees that so-and-so tested positive for COVID. However, when I did, I announced it here at a town board meeting, so everybody would be aware. So I have been transparent from the very beginning and following all protocols, and will continue to do so. And that's about all I have to say about that. Any other communications or announcements?
I have some questions on that, so, as far as following protocol, I think we've been protecting our citizens all along. You said that we always knew that people had to stay home inside, and tracers even tracked that to make sure that they were home inside during the time that they were supposed to be isolated, and that would be at least 5 days now. So I guess the question is, why did you go out anyway? And did you notify the 2 people that you had direct contact with while you were there, in your car, feet away from the event? And also, I'm really concerned about the staff in your presence here Monday, because they come in contact with our citizens.
Right.
So anybody you had contact with Monday might have also had contact with someone who came in to pay taxes or sue Teresa or do other business within the town. So I would be concerned if you did not contact each one of those employees. And also, I think that there are times our magnificent staff is perfectly willing and capable of running this place without us. I don't think, given email and phones, that we really need to be on hand, especially if we have a contagious disease.
Very good, thank you. Anyone else?
I also would like to say, if you announced to us on Monday that you were positive, why 4 days later are you out in the public? Every person in the United States of America has to hunker down in their bedrooms and not move for 5 days.
Oh, I did. Oh, I was hungry.
That's day 4. If you told
I
us
was
Monday you're
hungry.
positive, that's day 4.
Again,
That's not 5 days.
I would read up on
That's
the
not 5 days.
protocols. Yeah.
I have another announcement, if I could.
Oh, sure.
I'd like to send a compliment out to our highway superintendent. You had a very interesting Sunday and Monday morning that turned out to be quite difficult to manage as the day went on. I think you were out for very many hours Sunday. I'm trying to keep up with the ice. Appreciate all the warnings that you were putting out on Facebook for us to stay home, and I hope most people did. And the surprise snowstorm this morning, I guess that you said you were out at 3 a.m.
Yeah, never trust Lake Ontario.
Dan, we really appreciate you and your crew. I know they had a very long day yesterday. That was really interesting.
They worked their tails off, thank you.
And you might be back at it again tonight.
Maybe.
Very good.
Thanks, Ross.
Anyone else?
Could I just jump in a little, Supervisor?
Yeah, I do want to thank Deputy Supervisor Morelli. He was the only other elected official that was on site. He was directly handing the kits to folks. Since I was separated from everybody, I was not handling any kits or boxes. Yes, Deputy Supervisor.
First, I have a question. Do you know if we're going to get more kits? Because I know we only got about 1,600, and I know a lot of residents were looking for more kits, rightfully so. Do you have any insight?
Well, again, I hope we're going to get another large batch, so we can have another distribution event. But at this point, not sure.
I think the event went, and I understand, I understand some of my colleagues' questions. I'm not sure I agree with them. With regard to the event, if we do it again, I think it might be worthy of conversation around the traffic flow and the pattern. We had some backups throughout the town. I know we tried to deconflict with buses and rush hour and stuff like that. So I think just in a spirit of self-improvement, continuous improvement, maybe we can look at that going forward. Having said that, I just don't want it to be lost on anyone here or anyone in the public how successful of an event that was. As everyone knows, the virus is prevalent in the community, in the state, and in the country, and These kits are key to us moving forward. I know for me, kits are important. So when someone in school tests positive, I can be assured that they don't have it. They're equally important for me to test my children and my family to ensure if I'm bringing them around my parents who are older, that they are COVID-free. And I know, and I'll just say that from a personal aspect, I know many residents are doing the same thing, whether they have kids, whether they have elderly relatives. So I think it was a very successful event. I was personally there. I cleared my schedule. I think I had 8 court appearances that day, but I did make myself available for the entirety of that event. I was also getting a furnace swap that day, but I was there. I don't know I don't know when the supervisor first had symptoms. I don't know what he did earlier in the week and when he was at town hall, but I do know what he did that day relative to that event, and he was nowhere near any of our residents. He was, in fact, in the middle of that parking lot, and I don't want this conversation to overshadow the success of that event. I think I saw in the press that the optics maybe didn't look good. I know for a fact that the Omicron virus is not looking at optics. It doesn't weigh in. It doesn't weigh in on political emissions. It's simply the tests are important.
Okay, with all due respect, Councilman Morelli, this
Sure.
was not an event, this was a distribution in the middle of a pandemic. You had a lot of residents who were frightened. A lot of residents who do not want to be exposed in any way, shape, or form, whether Omicron is less deadly than what we saw a year ago. This does not make people comfortable. And I had 2 reports from employees who you came into close contact with that day. And you're not going to answer any questions and to clarify whether you were cleared by the Department of Health or Saratoga County Public Health. You're not going to answer that, correct? No. What a shame.
Rita,
How irresponsible.
yeah, why don't you do some studying? Maybe you'll learn something. All right, is there anything else
You're reckless,
other than
Supervisor.
this
You are a reckless
political
supervisor.
game, political show that we're
This
trying to
is not about politics,
political
Bill.
show
This
that's
is
going
about
on
you
today?
trying-
This is about
Ridiculous.
people's infrastructure.
Yeah, I know.
Our
I know.
And
employees are
again,
scared.
did you call the
Oh.
2 people you had contact with?
All right, is there
Kathy
anything
Lynn?
else?
There are people in this that work for us who are embarking on medical procedures
I tell you.
and cannot even have an exposure, let alone a positive diagnosis for the procedure that they need.
Well, the discrepancy is you
I'll
told
tell
us 2 different things. You told us
No,
Monday that you're
I didn't
positive,
tell you 2
at the
different
board
things at all.
meeting,
You want to hear
which
different
means
things.
you
That's
quarantined
your-
for 5 days.
That's your.
And then
that's
you
your
told the
choice.
media you had symptoms the week before, but you still came to town hall on Monday morning. So that's the discrepancy in my head. Like those are 2 different things.
Yeah, well, you can hear what you want. All right, very good. We have
Shame on you.
number,
Shame
yeah,
on you,
yes,
Bill.
yes.
Shame
I
on
tell you,
you.
that's very
That our
strong coming
questions
from
weren't
you
answered.
in the
Shame on
political
you.
show group here.
Shame on
That
you.
means a lot. All right,
Got it.
we have communications and announcements that are done. How about some resolutions? Teresa, if you could read through those, please.
A resolution authorizing the purchase of mowing and trail grooming equipment for use by the Buildings and Grounds Department, whereas Daniel Clem, Director of Buildings, Parks, and Recreation, has requested authorization to purchase new equipment for use by the Buildings and Grounds Department. And whereas Mr. Clemens has recommended that the town board approve the purchase of 1 Toro 5910 and 1 Toro Z Master 3000 with bagger and 1 Dingo TX 1000 power rig and 1 Toro Greensmaster 3150Q from Grassland Equipment and Irrigation Corporation. Towards Schenectady roadway can be purchased for the amounts listed below and on the attached quotes under New York State Contract PC 68896. Group 4625 Heavy Equipment Award PGB 22792 for a total amount not to exceed $204,759.74. Now therefore be it resolved that Clifton Park Town Board hereby authorizes the purchase of 4 specific pieces of mowing and grooming equipment from Grassland equipment and irrigation as described in the attached documents at a total cost not to exceed $204,759.74 under state contract PC 688966 to be paid for by municipal lease from the following accounts. The Toro 5910 from the Clifton Common lease payments, and that was $112,750. The Toro Z Master would come from the buildings and grounds lease payments, $17,641.18. The Dingo XTX 1000 would come from the trails contractual lease payments, and that would be $45,542.10. And the Toro Greens Masters, and that would come from the golf course lease payments at $28,826.46. A resolution authorizing the purchase of one Jacobson mower for the use by the Buildings and Grounds Department from an existing Massachusetts state contract, number FAC 116, whereas after assessing the needs of the Buildings and Grounds Department, Daniel Clemens, Director of Buildings, Parks, and Recreation, has recommended the purchase of one Jacobson HR 700 mower for use throughout town per the attached, and whereas the prices quoted are extended from the Massachusetts State Award under the provisions of New York State General Municipal Law, Section 103 of the General Municipal Law Code, which allows one municipality to utilize existing contracts of another municipality as long as that contract was pursuant to competitive bidding consistent with state law and made available for use by other government entities. And whereas General Municipal Law, Section 103.16 has been amended to allow the extension of equipment configurations and awarded pricing discounts to all political subdivisions in New York State based upon qualified bid responses to a municipal entity with notice. And whereas after reviewing the options available, Daniel Clemens has recommended that the pricing from MTE Solutions, 10 Green Mountain Drive, Cohoes, New York, be accepted for an amount of $81,159.54. Now therefore be it resolved that the Buildings and Grounds Department is authorized to purchase one Jacobson HR 700 mower as per the attached Schedule A from MTE Solutions in Cohoes, New York, and be it further resolved that the Clifton Park Town Board hereby authorizes the purchase under Massachusetts State Contract number FAC 116 an amount not to exceed $81,159.54 to be paid through a municipal lease. A resolution authorizing the purchase of two 2022 Chevrolet 2500 HD pickup trucks with snowplows for use by the Buildings and Grounds Department for an existing New York State mini bid. Whereas after assessing the needs of the Buildings and Grounds Department, Dan Clemens, Director of Buildings, Parks, and Recreation, has recommended the purchase of two Chevy pickup trucks for use by the department per the attached. And whereas the prices quoted are extended from New York State mini bid 1379 OGS solicitation 31166 under the provisions of New York State General Municipal Law, Section 103 of the General Municipal Law, which allows one municipality to utilize existing contracts of another municipality as long as that contract was pursuant to competitive bidding consistent with the state law and made available for use by other government entities. And whereas General Municipal Law, Section 103.16 allows the extension of equipment configurations and awarded pricing discounts to all political subdivisions in New York State based upon qualified bid responses to a municipal entity with notice. And whereas after reviewing the options available, Mr. Clemens has recommended that the pricing from Denoyer Chevrolet 127 Wolf Road, Albany, New York be accepted for an amount not to exceed $100,812. Now therefore be it resolved that the Buildings and Grounds Department is authorized to purchase two 2022 Chevrolet pickup trucks with snowplows as per the attached Schedule A from Denoyer Chevrolet Incorporated, and be it further resolved that the Clifton Park Town Board hereby authorizes the purchase under New York State mini bid OGS solicitation number 23166 in an amount not to exceed $100,812 to be paid through a municipal lease. A resolution authorizing the supervisor to sign an amendment to the administrative services agreement between the town and Mass Mutual for the employees' deferred compensation plan. Whereas the town of Clifton Park is a local public employer which has adopted a deferred compensation plan pursuant to Section 5 of the New York State Finance Law. And whereas the purpose of such plan is to provide employees with a convenient and tax-favored method of saving on a regular and long-term basis, and therefore thereby provide for their retirement. And whereas by resolution number 256 of 2021, the town board awarded a 5-year renewal agreement with Mass Mutual in conjunction with Empower Retirement to administer this plan under procedures set forth by the New York State Deferred Compensation Board. And whereas Mass Mutual has informed the town that numerous investment options will be changed per Exhibit C, effective in February 2022. And whereas Mass Mutual has also informed the town that it will offer managed account services through Great West Trust Company at no cost to the town. And whereas the proposals were reviewed by the Deferred Compensation Committee, which recommended that the agreements be accepted. Now therefore be it resolved that the supervisor is hereby authorized to sign an amendment to its contract with Empower in Retirement in conjunction with Great West Trust Company as trustee. And be it further resolved that the supervisor is authorized to sign an agreement for managed account services with InvestNet and Retirement Solutions LLC. Resolution authorizing the comptroller to transfer funds for the town historian. Whereas John Shearer has requested funds to acquire certain specialized storage items for archival materials. And whereas Mr. Shearer has provided an estimate for specially treated and configured items for the keeping and storage of artifacts in the amount of $5,700. And whereas the town board supports the proper treatment and storage of archival items of historic significance. Now therefore be it resolved that the comptroller is authorized to transfer the sum of $5,700 from contingency fund other contractual to the town historian equipment. And be it further resolved that the town historian, working through the Office of Parks and Recreation, will obtain quotes for any materials or supplies to be purchased. A resolution scheduling a public hearing on a proposed amendment to the Eagle Crest Plantation Plan Development District PDD zoning for the Players Park property on New York State Route 146A. Whereas on September 30th, 2021, Sportsplex of Half Moon Incorporated filed an application for amendments to the Eagle Crest Plantation PDD to provide for a project to construct an indoor-outdoor sports facility to include a synthetic turf indoor field, outdoor field, and small turf practice facility. And whereas on November 15th, 2021, the town board received a presentation from Paul Rogan, owner of Sportsplex of Half Moon, in support of the project, and by resolution number 260 of 2021, the board referred the matter to the planning board for their review and advisory recommendation. And whereas on December 21st, 2021, the planning board returned the project to the town board without recommendation. And whereas the town board wishes to solicit input on the project from members of the public, now therefore be it resolved that a public hearing is scheduled for February 14th, 2022 at 7:05 p.m. in the Wood Memorial Room, 1 Town Hall Plaza, Clifton Park, New York. And be it further resolved that a complete narrative with schematic drawings is available on the town's website at cliftonpark.org, government legal notices, and from the office of the town clerk. A resolution authorizing the acceptance of depreciation estimates from Selective Insurance for the fire loss in the highway department and authorizing preparations for demolition and replacement of the White Building. Whereas on August 17, 2021, an accidental fire occurred and caused severe damage to the facility locally known as the White Building, which was used primarily by the highway department. And whereas the White Building was insured against property, fire, and casualty losses through Selective Insurance Policy S1801921, which included replacement value coverage for the structure. And whereas the White Building housed various pieces of equipment and machinery, a wood shop, 7 bays for plow trucks over the winter months, as well as storage for several departments. And whereas Selective Insurance has estimated a recoverable depreciation amount for the damaged structure in the amount of $69,330.97. And whereas the highway department has outgrown its current facilities through a growing community and expansion in responsibilities while developing shared services throughout town. And the town board supports the design and construction of replacement facilities utilizing proceeds from the selective fire loss claim. And whereas through insurance number 225 of 2021, Prime AE Engineering has been employed to assist the highways superintendent in the design and construction of a permanent awning, as well as assisting in the planning and documentation of losses to support the relevant insurance claims. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board finds that it is not economic to repair the damaged structure, and that it is in the best interest of the town to demolish and replace the white building. And be it further resolved that the town board authorizes the superintendent of highways, Dan Gould, to continue working with Prime AE Group of New York in the demolition of the white building and design of the new facility. And be it further resolved that Prime AE Group of New York will continue to work at the contractual rates that had been previously adopted by the town board through the resolution number 1 of 2022, with expenditures to be drawn from the insurance proceeds. And be it further resolved that the superintendent of highways is authorized to notify Selective Insurance of the town's intent to accept Selective's estimate of recoverable depreciation of $69,330.97 to request those funds when contracts to replace the damaged structures are awarded. And be it further resolved that the superintendent of highways is hereby authorized to begin planning, designing, and preparing bid documents for the construction of a new modern garage facility for the highway department to be located on highway department property. A resolution establishing a comprehensive deer public-private management assessment group in the town of Clifton Park. Whereas on October 18th, 2021, the town board held a public hearing to discuss changes to allowable activities in nature preserves, town parks, and lands otherwise managed by the town. And whereas during the public hearing, town residents spoke encouraging the town to undertake a comprehensive deer public-private land management assessment of its lands with the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation and public participation with interested parties before moving forward. And whereas the abundance of deer in large parts of the state, including Clifton Park, is causing increasing problems such as deer vehicle collisions, damage to landscaping plants, diseases carried by ticks that feed on deer, all while threatening the long-term viability of forest ecosystems. And whereas the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation recommends approaching deer management at a community level rather than as individuals. And whereas the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation has long been studying the issue of deer management across the state in conjunction with Cornell University, and whereas the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation over the decades has worked successfully with local governments to develop and implement deer management plans. And whereas the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation has created several handbooks to guide communities in developing their own deer management plan. And whereas the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation has historically worked with local groups and communities to establish management plans that take into account all considerations for the community. And whereas numerous localities in New York State, including the city of Albany, Albany County, town of East Hampton, Suffolk County, town of Irwin, Steuben County, and the town of
Irondequoit.
Irondequoit. Thank you. Monroe County have implemented successful bow hunting programs on public lands that are held up as models for the nation. And whereas the state of New York allows controlled hunting programs in state forest lands located within the boundaries of the town of Clifton Park and state parks within short driving distances. Now therefore be it resolved that said comprehensive deer management assessment group shall be chaired by Chairwoman Amy Flood, with further membership comprised of Councilman Anthony Morelli, and representatives are available from the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, New York State Canal Corporation, Friends of the Mohawk Hudson Bike Trail, and the local sportsman's community, and other interested parties as deemed necessary to the discussion. And be it further resolved that the town attorney's office will provide staff support as necessary and legal advice as appropriate. And be it further resolved that the assessment group utilize the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation Community Deer Management Guide 2018 Deer Management in Urban and Suburban New York Report and Management Plan for White-tailed Deer in New York State 2021 through 2030 as guides in its deliberations. And be it further resolved that the assessment group research and study the work being done relative to deer management, in particular limited and controlled deer bow hunting on public lands in Albany, East Hampton, Irwin, and
Irondequoit.
Arundecoy. Thank you.
Any questions on the resolutions?
Sorry to the town of Arundecoy.
We won't tell them. All right, Teresa, if you'd read the headings, please.
Resolution number 14 of 2022, a resolution authorizing the purchase of mowing and trail grooming equipment for use by the Buildings and Grounds Department. So moved.
Second.
By Ms. Standard, second by Mr. Moretti. Dan, how you doing?
I'm good, thank you. All right, so we'll break all these down for everybody. I've been preparing over the last few months through the whole budget process and then getting the money approved and then starting to find the equipment that I thought I was going to get. Ran into some troubles like everybody is on availability. Some of the stuff that Toro had that I wanted is not even being produced until 2023. So I started looking around and trying to figure out other ways to talk to other companies and more options with some of this stuff. So the first thing on here is a Toro 5910. So I had initially tried to get a Toro 5900, which is the 16-foot wide cut machine that we use at the Common 5 days a week. And that wasn't going to be made available until maybe the fall, they told me. So that's not going to do us much good for this season coming up. So I had my salesman poke around and said, hey, I have this 5910, which is a demo. And maybe I can do a deal with that. So the difference is a 5910 is a fully enclosed cab machine, which is usually about $20,000 to $30,000 more. You know, guys, you just wear a jacket out there, but this thing's got heat and air conditioning and fully enclosed. And, you know, everybody see Justin out there all huddled up with his sweatshirt on, no matter what the weather, mowing. He would certainly like this thing, and the price was less than the new 5900. So they brought it in, and my guys went down and checked it out, went over the thing. It's got 110 hours on it, which is nothing. We do 3 times that a summer easily. It still has the full 2.5-year factory warranty on it. So I didn't think this was a win-win. It actually worked out to our benefit. The Z-Master is something that we use all over the town. We mow town hall with a lot of different things. That they have in stock. We'll get that pretty easy. That's just a regular 5-foot Z-turn mower with a bagger. Dingo TX1000 is a wide track machine. We have some attachments. We have a smaller version of this machine and the power rake, which we'll use for making trails. Basically, that goes through and it just sifts everything out, makes everything nice and smooth, so you don't have to stand out there and manually rake things. And then the Greensmaster for Bunny Road. This one also is not going to be produced until 2023, but we have the wheels for it. This is just a traction unit, they call it. It's the main part of the mower. So when talking about it with Mark, he said, well, you probably should just do it now. Let's do it and get on the list. And talking to my salesman after that, I said, definitely, because the longer you wait, the further it might be 2024 or even further until you get it. So we're going to go ahead and purchase things now and get on the build list. So as soon as they start making them, we're going to be able to get here sooner than they're predicting. That's our hope. So that's these 4 pieces on this resolution.
Very good. All very important pieces of machinery for our trails and parks. Any questions for Dan? All right. Very good. Teresa?
Councilwoman Flood?
Yes.
Councilwoman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Morelli?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wallach?
Yes.
Supervisor Barrett?
Yes.
Resolution number 15 of 2022, a resolution authorizing the purchase of 1 Jacobson mower for the use by the Buildings and Grounds Department from an existing Massachusetts contract FAC 116.
So moved. Second.
Okay, it's on the table. What do you have here, Dan?
Okay, so then here we've got another situation where we have some older Toro 4000s, which are a 12-foot wide machine. We have 4 of them out and about the town all day, taking care of our 75+ mowing spots and at the Common, and we use them at the golf course. And our oldest one is in need of replacing. Well, Toro's not going to be building any of these until 2023. So I went to a Jacobson, which we have had some Jacobson machines in the past. And I met with that salesman and went over the equipment, and my guys kind of checked that stuff out. And this HR 700 is actually an in-between mower that we don't have. This one cuts 14 feet. And it's also made to fold up smaller and still fit on a standard trailer. So some of our areas that we have, Windover Farms, Parkside Trail, they're pretty big. and that's part of the mobile crew. So this is actually gonna pick up a little pace in our mowing with that. And so we're gonna try this Jacobson machine and see how it goes. I think it'll be good. The ones we've had some old ones that are just hard to kill. They're tough equipment. It's good commercial grade stuff. It's not some homeowner stuff.
All right, very good. Any questions for Dan on this one? All right, Teresa.
Councilwoman Flood?
Yes.
Councilwoman Stander?
Yes.
Councilmember Relli?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wallowit?
Yes.
Supervisor Barrett?
Yes.
Resolution number 16 of 2022, a resolution authorizing the purchase of two 2022 Chevrolet 2500 HD pickup trucks with snowplows for use by the Buildings and Grounds Department from the existing New York State mini bid.
So moved.
Second?
It's on the table, Dan.
Okay, so I went to the New York State mini bid like I do every year, and I build a truck that I want. We have two 2007 Chevy 2500s that are pretty much no floorboards left in them. They're rusted out pretty bad. So we go to replace them. I spec it out, I build it, put it in through the mini bid, came back when it was up, 0 results, nobody bid on it. So I'm well, what's going on with this? Well, I specified what I want like I usually do. General Motors is not building any more fleet trucks, not taking orders at this time. So that's why nobody bid on it, because they couldn't produce the trucks. So I amended my bid and I just put either a Chevrolet, a Ford, or a Ram, basically simplified my specs to what I need, and I put it back up there. This time I got two trucks that were already in the line to be built from Benoit Chevrolet. They were pretty much exactly what I expect, except for one thing. They're white. I expect for green trucks. So I thought, well, these two white trucks are better than no trucks at all. So we do have a few trucks that are white already, so we'll just add it to our mix match. It's not a problem. But other than that, it was exactly the same. These are already in line to be built in the factory. I think they're being built this week, actually. The dealership had just ordered them. He does a lot of fleet stuff, so he just gets generic trucks, build them, and brings them on his lot. So lucky to be able to probably get these a lot sooner than if it had been the normal way, because sometimes that takes till August, September to see them anyways. Hopefully we'll get these sooner, because we sure could use them.
Yeah, certainly not cheap.
No, they're not. Well, yeah, plus these have the big XV snow plows on them too, which adds them up. Yeah, they're certainly not cheap, and not at all.
Very good. Any questions for Dan? All right.
Councilwoman Flood?
Yes.
Councilwoman Stander?
Yes.
Councilmember Relli?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wallowit?
Yes.
Supervisor Barrett?
Yes.
Resolution number 17 of 2022, a resolution authorizing the supervisor to sign an amendment to the administrative services agreement between the town and Mass Mutual for the employees' deferred compensation plan.
So moved.
Very good. It's on the table. Mark, how are we doing?
Good. So what this is, the 457 plan is money that is invested 100% by employees of the town of Clifton Park. And everyone has approximately 40 options that they can choose from. So these 4 options that are up for replacement, there's a InvestNet. They monitor the different funds that we have in plan, and essentially, if for some reasons they will put on a quarterly basis the different funds on a watch list, or we need to replace it. And these 4 have been on the watch and replace for more than a year each. And so what we're doing is we're replacing them with something similar. So like a bond fund with a bond fund, and a mid-cap fund with another mid-cap fund. So we are replacing those funds. The individuals who have the funds will receive a notice in February saying that you can do nothing, and this is where your money is going to go to. Or you can take your money and move it in advance of this date, and that's what we're doing here.
That's the only proposed change, right?
Correct.
So Mark, they come to us with these suggestions of,
So part of the deal that we have with Mass Mutual, which is now Great West Company, Empower, if you're using the app, it it used to be Mass Mutual, now it says Empower. They came back into us this past November, and in the annual review that they had, these funds were recommended to be replaced, and so that's where we are on this.
Do they come to us annually with
Yeah,
recommendations?
we do meet with them annually to say, okay, how's the plan doing? You know, do we have the right mix? Do we have the right funds in the account to potentially get the best return? Now, obviously, they're in mutual funds that are invested in the different various funds. So the investment company is saying you should keep this one, or this one probably needs to go, and that could be because the expense load is too high, they're not earning enough, those type of things.
Thanks.
Okay.
Councilwoman Flood,
Yes.
Councilwoman Standard,
Yes.
Councilman Morelli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Walowitz.
Yes.
Supervisor Barrett.
Yes.
Resolution number 18 of 2022, a resolution authorizing the comptroller to transfer funds for the town historian.
So,
Second.
Very good. Mr. Shear is here. How are you, sir?
Hi. So, as you know, the town history collection is on deposit at the Clifton Park Acton Library because I have a wonderful environmentally controlled room, and we can make use of the librarians to help out with it, and they succeeded in getting several grants to actually catalog the collection. So the history collection is growing, and we now need some additional storage equipment. And one of the things we need is art storage bins for the storage of framed portraits and paintings. That's part of this. We have a large collection of quilts and coverlets. And so this includes specialized shelving to house the quilts and coverlets. It's really quite a fine collection. In fact, we had some of it exhibited at the Groom's Tavern this last fall. And then additional shelving, as I say, the collection is growing. And just as a matter of case, a couple of things that came in this week, John Esposito was selling the Main Street Grill, which used to be Smith's Grain and Feed Store. And he had a collection of material, early framed photographs of the building, and also a big collection of bill heads from things that were sold there from the 1890s into the early 1900s. And so that's one collection that we have. Another collection that came in also this week is a collection of material from Robert Van Branken, which includes correspondence and papers of John Whitbeck Van Branken, who was a town supervisor. He was also Justice of the Peace for many years, and we have his Justice of the Peace records. One of the things in that collection is John Whitbeck Van Branken's ciphering book, which he used when he was 13 years old. It's like a school book, and he would practice his handwriting and his arithmetic and things like that in it. So this is just to give you an idea of some of the things that we're taking in. Now, the larger things go into the Groom's Tavern, like furniture and stuff like that. But these other more delicate things go to the library. So we need additional shelving to house these things. And also we have several arrowhead collections. And so part of this equipment is certain boxes that are made to store archaeological things like arrowheads. So that's basically what we have. I know Amy Flood has been over and taken a look at our storage area there, and I invite any one of you to come and take a look.
It's very, very impressive. I would invite everybody from the public to set up an appointment, because it's by appointment only now, right? In the library, that
Yes.
small room. It's amazing the stuff that's in there, and it, is dated back so far and directly related to our community. And these artifacts, when you view them in person, it's mind blowing. And the fact that the librarian and yourself and everybody involved has taken such good care of it over the years. You can't just throw this stuff on a shelf. You know,
Right.
like our buildings and grounds can't just build us some shelves. It doesn't work that way. These artifacts are so old and they need to be put in specific containers and on specific shelving. So that's what this is about. And we discussed it during the budget workshops. So.
That's right. In fact, the quilts and the coverlets are wrapped in acid-free tissue and they're stored in acid-free boxes. And then they'll go on this new shelving. So,
Thank you.
How's the buggy, John?
oh, yes. Talk about things that we're acquiring in the last couple of weeks. We are acquiring the one-horse buggy, one-seat buggy that belonged to Dr. John McElroy, who was Clifton Park's country doctor from 1894 until 1954. And this had been donated to the Saratoga County Historical Society back in the 1980s by Donald McElroy, who was the grandson of Dr. John McElroy. And the Historical Society is having it stored off-site, and actually it's being stored right here in Clifton Park, up in Sherwood Forest. Yes, and the man who is storing it wants to do something with the storage area now, so the Historical Society is going to transfer it to the town of Clifton Park, and we look for a place, Dan and I, and we have a place in the blacksmith shop, which again is another good reason to stabilize that building, because now we're using it.
Yeah, the McElroy family is very, very pleased about the fact that the town of Clifton Park will be taking ownership of that very important piece of our history.
Yes, he was a very important character.
Yeah.
Person for Clifton Park history, and this is the buggy that he made his house calls with.
Right. Very good.
And I did pass around the pictures to the town board the last meeting too of the buggies so they could see it as well. Yep.
Any other questions for John? Teresa?
Councilwoman Flood?
Yes.
Councilwoman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Morelli?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wallowitz?
Yes.
Supervisor Barrett?
Yes.
Resolution number 19 of 2022, a resolution scheduling a public hearing on a proposed amendment to the Eagle Crest Plantation Plan Development District zoning for the Players Park property on New York State Route 146A.
So moved.
Second.
Very good. It's on the table. This is a application that was submitted. We did receive a briefing by the applicant in recent weeks. Planning board has reviewed it, and through that initial review process, did not come back with a definitive decision. So they did send some thoughts about the project itself, however, and we'd be looking at establishing a public hearing to accept comment on this proposal for February 14th. Yeah, very nice. All right, discussion. Lisa?
Councilwoman Flood?
Yes.
Councilwoman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Morelli?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wallowitz?
Yes.
Supervisor Barrett?
Yes.
Resolution number 20 of 2022, a resolution authorizing the acceptance of depreciation estimates from Selective Insurance for the fire loss in the Highway Department and authorizing preparations for demolition and replacement of the White Building.
So moved.
Is that second? Ms. Wall, was it? You second? All right, it's on the table. Well, had a little fire back in 21, unfortunately, and been working through the process of coming up with a plan for the future for the highway structures. What's the latest?
Yeah, so I was talking to Councilman Morelli earlier today, and I used a little quip that I kind of tailored with Tom. In the grand scheme of things, this whole process is a marathon, and tonight we're hoping is the pulling of the trigger of the starting pistol. We've come a long way, And, but we still have a very, very long way to go. The white building is really all it's called. It's the big white building that's in front of town, or in front of the highway garage. It's been there for many, many, many years. And unfortunately, as our town has grown, our department has as well, and we have far outgrown that facility. So, you know, out of the dark, smoky clouds, we see a silver lining here, an opportunity where we can take that white building and build a better highway department. What we're asking here is really what this comes down to. This resolution establishes that the town board is in support of moving forward with planning and designing a new highway facility on its current footprint. I say the current footprint of the entire facility, not necessarily the white building. There are some safety issues, some close proximity to the road that creates hazardous conditions for not only our drivers, but for the public as well. Backing in, pulling out, we want to make sure that we take care of some of those. But at the end of the day, we need a facility that adds a few more storage slots for our plows, allows us a little bit room to grow, plus offering areas for our wood shop, our welding bays, possibly a small break room and locker room with showers, and as we get dirty, we do. So it's a long planning process, but we're hoping that we can get your support tonight to start that process and move forward. The depreciation letter, which is what the main issue is here. We received a check for $548,445.15, which is the actual cash value of the building repairs that the insurance company is willing to pay for. Unfortunately, due to the size of our fleet, our needs, I don't think it makes good sense to repair the building. I think we should replace it. So in that event, there's what's known as the less recoverable depreciation amount. It's almost like a run plate. $69,330.97. If we choose to rebuild, we get that $69,330.97. And by me signing this letter, we're making that decision to rebuild instead of repair. About that.
Does it and reject the 548?
No, we would not reject the 548. We would take the 548 in addition to the 69,330.
Is there a timeline?
So the point that we are at right now, just talking with other highway superintendents, other individuals, I talked to a former highway superintendent at the town of Wilton. To get to this point, it was almost a year for him. We're 5 months in, so I think that we're moving pretty quickly. So working with Dave Meager, he's Dave Meager, insurance agent, I shouldn't say adjuster, insurance agent. He's been very helpful in holding my hand through this process. But I still think it's going to be a pretty long process. In terms of demolition, we have had some pretty interesting conversations with possible vendors for demolition, in which, you know, I don't want to say I'm excited about it, but we found out that gentlemen that work for the highway department have actually been in the business of demolishing two-story structures. Talking to these demolition companies, they say, well, if you got the guys that can do it, rent the equipment, and you can save a whole ton of money. So we're in the process of researching that, and in the spring, if this goes through, after some possible just asbestos abatement, we want to make sure that we're all covered. I know that in the past we've done some asbestos abatement on it already, but we want to, you know, cross our I's and dot our T's. So we just gonna get it looked over one more time. If they clear it, we are actually allowed to take the structure down ourselves. We would go out and contract for a construction debris hauler, and they would drop off bins, and we'd slowly take the building down, put them in the bins, and call them to pick it up and take it offsite.
Wonderful. It sadly has become a town eyesore since the fire, so it would be good to have it. Bad, but good.
Yeah, we were very fortunate that the fire departments that responded, I think it was every fire department in town responded.
Yeah.
They put the fire out, they saved our equipment, they saved a large section of the building, but at this point, with the new trucks that we're looking at getting, these trucks are larger, we wouldn't be able to fit them in the building anyways. We can barely fit our crew cabs and our smallest trucks in there right now, so.
And Dan, with the part that was saved, I know a lot of the firemen had told me that the smoke, just to clean it up and try to save it would be not even worth it because of the smoke damage.
Yeah, exactly. Because of the smoke damage, every piece of plywood, every inch of insulation would have to be completely removed, and that's really all the building is. You just get this skeletal structure, and then we rebuild from there. The building was originally appraised for about $350,000, so we would be spending almost twice as much as that to repair what has been done than what its assessed value is.
Did you engage a public adjuster at all to take a look at this?
In terms of yes, we worked with Prime Engineering to take a look at what their estimates were. They took a look at what it would take to repair the building. I just worked with Prime Engineering to give us a better idea and took that route.
Well, that's an engineering firm, that's not a public adjuster.
Then no, I guess the answer is no.
Why not?
I don't know. I just went with our engineer and asked them for some advice.
Well, it's always good to get second opinions.
Sure.
And research people that are experts in the field, whose job it is to recover money in situations like this.
Okay.
Anyone else? Any other questions?
We are still in the process of discussing back and forth some additional costs. And the best part about this is that as we come up with those costs, we just pass them over to Selective and you have another discussion and we go from there. So Phil, if you got any ideas, send them my way and I'll be happy to work with those individuals.
That's it.
Who are they?
Alrighty, anything else?
Okay, thanks.
Yes, no?
Answering questions.
Okay, very good.
Councilwoman Flood?
Yes.
Councilwoman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Morelli?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wallowit? Yes. Supervisor Barry?
No.
Resolution number
Thank
21,
you, guys.
2022, a resolution establishing a comprehensive deer public-private management assessment group in the town of Oakland Park.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it's on the table, so,
This is
is
just
the
the,
goal to, eventually
Well, this is just to establish.
have a hunting program
Well,
for deer in the preserve?
This resolution is just to establish a working group to do the research and look into what the possibilities might be. We're getting people together from different areas. I've spoken to the DEC, I've spoken to other municipalities that have programs in place. We're gonna be looking at the documents that those organizations use, seeing what they've gone through. So it's really just basically a research group to get together, like what might be the possibilities. That's all it is.
Possibilities with regard to hunting programs on public property in town, right?
Right, the structured bow hunt that we talked about in the meeting on October 18th.
Right.
Yep.
Councilwoman Flood?
Yep.
I just wanted to make a comment on, since this agenda had been made public, I had several residents reach out to me and they were really quite interested in this committee. Just this evening, actually, someone had reached out, wanting to be involved, someone who actually lives close to some lands that might be in question. So
Oh, great, they can
I'm
email
gonna
me.
pass on their
That'd be great.
information to you.
Yes, thank you. I
But,
have a list
yeah.
going of a lot of people that are interested, so.
Okay, any other comments?
Yeah, I don't,
Questions?
I offered to be a part of the committee. I don't know the answer to this as we discussed, but I've hunted many a times in my life, not successfully, but I think it's worth I do think it's worth exploring and having a conversation. I definitely don't claim to be an expert in any sort of deer or other animal management anywhere, but I certainly think it's worth having some conversations and exploring. Public input will certainly be important with that regard and other expertise.
Mhm.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, Teresa?
Councilwoman Flood?
Yes.
Councilwoman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Morelli?
Yes.
Councilwoman Holloway?
Yes.
Supervisor Barrett?
Yes. Any other business come before the board this evening? Okay, we'll go to public privilege. If you'd like to speak on a town matter, please raise your hand. We'll ask that you come forward. State your name and address for the record, and please keep it to 5 minutes or less. Hi, how are you?
Hi, good. Do you want me to go up
Yes,
there?
please. Come on up. Thank you.
Hi, so I'm Tammy Morley. I live at 9 Heights Drive in Bolton Lake, and I'm just curious about the test kits and how that was, what's the word I'm looking for?
Land?
Not planned, but like
Oh.
how the community was made aware of that, because I had no idea. And like, I have 2 kids. I live with my elderly parents. That would have
Sure.
been nice for me to be able to pick up some test kits.
Sure. Yeah, we wanted to get them out as quickly as possible. We put out a press release through our normal channels, platforms that the town uses. So we try to get it out to as many people as possible, as quickly as possible. Now, were you able to get any test kits from the school?
Yes, I
Okay,
picked up 2 last
Oh,
week.
good.
Yeah.
Because you were definitely eligible for kits through the school. The school was given a rather large allotment.
Right.
So yeah, that's how we did that.
So if Clifton Park gets more test kits, that the information will be spread the same way?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, I will keep my eyes open. Thank you.
Thank you. And if you want to contact me or email me, I can list those out for you, and show you something else that you can access to help.
Okay, thank
Okay?
you.
Sir, come on up, please.
Carl Springle,
Hello,
61
Mr.
Appleton
Springle, how are
Road.
you?
How you doing?
Good.
6 months ago, I downloaded that I could get the minutes of the meetings that you have, the different committees, just to keep involved, because I'm retired, I have nothing else to do. So when I was looking at the report this last week, it was about the DEC and setting up a committee of bureaucrats to look at what it said in there was public, which is fine, but private lands. I have over 100 acres in town, and it's on conservation easement. And I look after, for 50 years, I've been in the woods. I know what deer do. I follow them all the time. We see them every day, almost. So it bothers me to have somebody who has a homeowner in a quarter plot thinking he knows the wildlife and dictating what we would do on our private lands. And I'm a believer in America that we have our own private lands. And that's why it came to me, and I heard tonight it was good to hear about hunting on public lands with a bow. I've given up bow hunting because it takes a lot of practice, so I don't do it anymore. But that's my feeling about it, and I feel that the state does a pretty good job, DEC, and they should continue that. Don't set up another committee that sends more tax money that some people don't have. So that's all I'd like to relay on your shoulders, and let's go, Brandon.
Thank you.
He's going back to school in a couple days, but I'll give him your sentiments. Anyone else? Sam, did you? Yes, ma'am.
Sorry for being late. I just wanted to make a quick appearance. My name is Ingrid Hahn, and I live on Waite Road in Clifton Park. And I was just here to provide a statement that about the proposed changes to the Eagle Crest miniature golf course.
Sure.
I just had community concern, especially with COVID and then the public hearing that's going to be held on Valentine's Day. The conditions to make sure that the community gets a fair chance to express their opinions. From what I've been hearing, there's already been a lot of us that are concerned, especially with the amount of traffic they already are facing on the one end with 146 and Waite Road, the increased accidents that have been happening. We're concerned about seeing that on the other end with Waite Road and 146A. as well as the fact that we have a train route that goes through that road. So the just increased traffic flow and backups, the front property that has been proposed seems to be a little bit blocking for the main right-of-way of traffic. And if you could just keep in mind or ensure us on how people would be able to express their comments if they can't be here in person. I really didn't want to be here within the 6-foot property distance between folks myself, but I find this too great of a concern that I am here today. And a lot of our community is older. So just keeping that in mind, if there's any way that you could emphasize allowing comments or encouraging comments by email or writing or in some other fashion.
Sure.
That's all. Just thank you very much.
Sure, thank you very much, I appreciate that. We have had, now that the pandemic's been with us for some time now, and when we've had public hearings on occasion, especially those where we think, well, there might be more public interest than others, we did hold the meetings at the large room at the senior center where there is more room to spread out and we can set up more chairs that are distance even more than what we have here this evening. So I would propose that we have the town board meeting that evening at the Clifton Park Senior Community Center to afford more space, but we'll certainly, we will absolutely take on comments by email or handwriting. Yeah, absolutely. So if there's no objection to that, I think that's probably a good change.
You can use my email and I will try, bring those to the board meetings if there's anyone who wants to send it.
Because the entire street's been starting, a couple streets are already starting to be aware of it and mostly would like to speak on it.
Can you make sure that your email is in the meeting notes?
Yes.
Do you want to open up the resolution to amend the location?
Yeah, we have to, yeah, I think we should.
Yeah, you might want to take a vote on that.
Okay.
I think that makes sense because especially the planning board didn't take a position, so the public input will be especially important, I think, of this project.
Yeah.
So we should maybe amend the resolution to include that it would take place at the senior center?
Yeah, so I'll move that amendment. There's a second by somebody.
I'd second.
Second by Mr. Morelli. Discussion?
Councilwoman Flood?
Yes.
Councilwoman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Morales?
Yes.
Councilwoman Walloway? Supervisor Barrett?
Yes. Very good.
Thank you for those comments.
I think that's it.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Councilwoman Flood?
Yes.
Councilwoman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Morelli?
Yes.
Councilwoman Walloway?
Yes.
Supervisor Barrett?
Yes, thank you.